Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity Podcast, episode 239. And we are joined by a returning guest today who I'll introduce you to in a minute. But it's quite interesting because I just looked, I did the maths earlier, and it's been 147 episodes since she's been on. And we worked out that's nearly 3 years ago. So the time really does fly when you think that coming up in August this year, we will have been doing this every single week for 5 years. The time does fly, doesn't it, Pete? Are you finding that 3 years ago? I can't believe that was that long ago we spoke.
I know. I'm surprised she's not saying it took you 2 years to get me on in the first place.
Doesn't time fly when you're having fun?
It does, it does, it does. But it is, I mean, we are recording today on a day that is, I mean, certainly in Essex, it is clear blue sky. It is, I had to defrost the car this morning going to the gym, and then coming out of the gym at sort of whatever it was, 1 o'clock or something to get back here. I had a woolly hat on, I had my hoodie on and my trousers, and I went outside and it felt like it was like, I don't know, May or June. It was
It's
like
warmer outside than it is in the house. That's why I'm up here. I've had the little blow heater on. I've turned it off.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I came out to the office here to do the recording, and it's really warm outside. And I walked in, and I put the heater on actually because, like you say, it's colder in here than it is outside. Is it lovely in Bath as well, Pete?
It's amazing. I've been out. I've done several walks this last week or so, and I've been out in a t-shirt, and it's fantastic. And that's not just because I'm from. This is reminiscent of the first and best lockdown, when it was like 25 degrees at the end of March.
Yeah, from March through till like July, we had
it was glorious. So like it feels like that. I mean, it'll probably snow next week, but anyway.
Yeah.
And Gemma, I think you're I'm terrible, as Pete often jokes. Anything north of Birmingham, I'm clueless.
Birmingham, like Watford, mate.
But
Birmingham.
the kind of Middlesbrough stroke Teeside.
Yeah, up north. Yeah.
Up north. How is it lovely up north as well today?
It is. It was chilly this morning, but the sun is shining, so I've had to shut the blinds. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen me. It would have been like a big beacon on my face. So yeah.
Excellent,
nice. It's lovely walking weather, as Pete.
Perfect. Well, yeah, because you've got a dog as well, haven't you?
Yes. Frankie. He's on his diet. He's on his January diet because he's getting a bit old. He's slowing down and he's on steroids. So he piled the weight on over Christmas, but he's doing really well on his diet. Yeah, we don't say the word diet though, because as soon as you say the word diet, he craves everything. But
the thing is with a dog, what's lovely that the humans don't, you just feed the dog a bit less and walk it a bit more, and it's got no real say in the matter, has it? So it has to lose.
If only if our clients were that easy.
So dealing with adults, with humans, you can't really, if you just said, I'm going to feed you a little bit less and you're going to walk a little bit more, it would actually have the same effect. But obviously, you can't really do that with humans now because it certainly wouldn't be ethical. But anyway, it would work. It would work. Yeah. Anyway, as you may have heard, well, we're rejoined by Jemma Wesson, and before we go on, I will say we're going to talk about some new stuff today with Jemma and what's going on with her and her business up north, as we said. But last time she was on was episode 92, and the episode was called Bodybuilding, CrossFit and Functional Strength. And we really kind of talked with Jemma back then about her kind of origin story, I suppose, and how she got into training and fitness and strength, and then found, went through the usual kind of maybe bodybuilding entry to fitness, then into CrossFit, and then found, I suppose, kind of Strong First and those kind of methodologies. And Jemma is a Strong First elite instructor and a gym owner from, like I said, Middlesbrough stroke Teeside. So today we're going to talk about some up-to-date stuff, but if you do want to go back and listen, because we're not going to tread over all the old ground again, re-talking about what we talked about last time, but I'd really recommend you go back, episode 92, either listen to that now, or if you listen to this podcast and you like what you hear and you want to hear more of Jemma, go back to episode 92 and listen to it there. So Jemma, nearly 3 years ago when we
Thanks
I've
for having me back.
I know. Thank you very much. I think I was at your place last May.
Yeah.
Would have been when John Engham was over doing the SFG2 at your gym, as it was called then, the unit. The unit, and it's now we're going to talk about that today, what's changed with that. But yeah, obviously 3 years ago, quite a long time ago. What has been happening for you and your training, your focus, your business? You know, what's kind of been going on in the last 3 years since we spoke last? It's a big question, I know, but
yeah, I mean, Jesus, 3 years. I can't remember what I did 3 weeks ago, mate. So 3 years, Jesus Christ. Well, I'm still here. I'm still alive and kicking. Grateful. Well, at the minute, well, I did Machu Picchu, so obviously that was last year. So my training changed for that. And at the minute, obviously, I think I've got to resit my elite in May. I think that actually runs out in May. So I've just come back off holiday. So, you know, it takes you a couple of weeks to get back into the groove of things. But I've been doing a little bit, dabbling in a little bit. I'm not following anything as a structure as yet, but I will have to knuckle down as from next week. And especially because I tested my one-arm push-ups and they were a little bit dreadful, if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm just chipping away with my training, and I would say I'm stronger at my age of 41 now than I was probably 3 years ago. Yeah, and fitter and yeah, injury free. Touch wood.
Because you mentioned you might be coming down to Essex in May to see Pavel Matchek and doing the FB and maybe I don't know if you do the enter the dumbbell thing as well, but
yeah, if I'm coming down now, I'm gonna do that. If I'm coming all that way, then I want to do that as well. So yeah, I just need to book it really. So I am gonna do it. I just need to book it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to do it. Otherwise, I need to do my elite. So I'll reset that. So yeah.
Yeah, and you only have to do that once every 3 years now, is it? You have to do
once every 3 years. Yeah, we have to do that. So that's, I suppose it's just a personal challenge, isn't it? Really, and just to keep our blade sharp, should we say? So yeah.
I think I'm going to have to. I'm starting to try my one arm, one leg press up again, which is what I'd have to do to reset the NFB when we host it. And I'm like about 90 kilos now, and I'm gradually trying to do it. But I have to say, I'm struggling to get the motivation to constantly.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's like hard. You're quite tall as well. It's harder for long lever people.
Yeah, so I'm gradually. I've got my patent pending wooden slant board out that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm practicing that. And
I'll get Carl to make me one.
Yeah, so I'm gradually doing that. But with the unit, I've been seeing recently, and I think it was only a couple of weeks ago, which I think may have prompted me to message you and say, you know, I'll be really interested in talking to you about this. You've kind of, and we spoke briefly before we came on, but it's kind of like a rebrand, a relaunch, or as you maybe said, a clarification of what you're doing and who you're working with. But what is the unit now called?
It's basically the Stronger Women Academy. So it does, you know, it says what it does, what we do on the tin. So it basically, we educate women on getting stronger, and that's what I've always done. How I've evolved really from the unit was when I first set up the unit, I did have a lot of sport specific sort of boxers back in the day. I used to train a lot of netballers. And I would say your niche has actually evolved as I've evolved as a coach, but my niche has evolved, and it's not really, I've never really said what I do on the tin. Does that make sense? So it's just, yeah, I mean, I would want to wake up, like say like, oh well, I woke up one morning, fell out with Carl and decided I hate all men and I don't want to train men anymore. But no, that is not the reason. That's what someone said to me. I was like, no, it's not that at all. It's just, it says what we do basically, and that's what we do, and you know, I've always done that since the Farmers Field days when I had the Girl Power Army Women Only boot camp with the scaffolding poles and the Prowler sledges. So yeah, that's it. Just basically, it says what we do. So yeah.
I wouldn't hold it against you if you did wake up one morning and said, I'm not training men anymore, because women do what they're told. like in training and stuff like that.
I don't know about that. Depends what there is.
Well, okay, they do more what they're told in training programs and that. Whereas blokes will be like, oh well, I'll do that and I'll do this as well. It's like,
so that you're right there, Pete, because I do train men still. Like, funny enough, my PT clients that I have, I don't have many. They are actually mainly men, but they actually do as they're told. But if I was to train like the likes of Carl or men that have trained all their life, like they do this and they'll do that, and men don't want to listen to what the women have to say. Like, honestly, the conversations, I can't repeat what they talk about, but you get a group of women together, and men don't want to listen to that, like, and women don't want to listen to what men want to talk about as well, because so that's basically. Yeah.
So do you find, so now it's the Stronger Women Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have, like you said, you still have male personal training clients that you train at the facility still, I'd imagine. But now all of your kind of, well, from the name, like you say, you actively discourage men from joining now.
Shot here, like all these feminists are going to come out for me. Like, I do have a few male members still. Obviously, I'm not going to say, right, Ian, you can't come anymore. But we've just got a handful, and they're great, and they get on, and they probably get a little bit embarrassed about what the women say, but they take themselves off into another room, and that's fine. But it is mainly, well, God, 95% of my members are female, and it's just to attract more women, so we can educate the women on the right stuff, what we know.
So what I mean, not going too far into it, but what is the right stuff? Because is it still a thing where women don't want to lift weights? They think they're going to get bullied,
honestly, like, if you like, I can't believe it when obviously it's women of a certain age that are coming to me. So a lady, two lady I've spoke to this morning, one was in her 50s, one was in her 60s, and they still said, I don't want to be big and bulky. And I'm like, all the knowledge that's out there, all the, Instagram and everything that's out there, and there's, we've got, doctors talking about it, and, different various podcasts, they still think they're going to get big and bulky. They also, at that age, I think they lose the confidence, women. They sort of hit a certain age, and they've brought the kids up, they've looked after the children, probably looked after the husbands, and probably high flying in a career, and and then all of a sudden that maybe all ends because they might retire, or getting ready to retire, and it's like, who am I? And then they sort of lose the confidence, and so it's just about, it's more of like a whole. We don't just do weights and nutrition, we do everything, really. It's a lifestyle, just help them find themselves again. It's mental, it's absolutely mental. And the other women, if you think about it, they've either gone through it or going through it, so it's basically free therapy as well for them.
Well, I was going to say that it's funny because, I mean, obviously on this podcast, in the world that we're in, we know all of that. And with, you might tend to think, and I tend to think, well, everyone knows this now, that you don't get big and bulky and all that. And it's really good for you. Lifting weights is good for your bone density, and especially for women going through menopause and all of this. But it's funny what you've just said there, because I found this with the walking group as well. It's like it's a therapy. So if they're doing it all together, it's not even about the lifting weights. That is part of it. But it's not necessarily about, it's about just getting to know people, because they're going to be changing what they do, which will probably end up not necessarily changing their entire friend circle, but changing like different ways of interacting with people and things that they talk about and stuff like that. And if people don't get it, it's difficult, isn't it?
It's not just about turning up to a an exercise class, getting hot and sweaty. It's about educating. We teach them, obviously, the lifting the weight side, and why we do it a certain way we do it. But it's also like life stuff, like like, I can't repeat what they say, but someone will say something, and then they'll go, oh, don't worry about it, it's normal. And then it's a bit like, you can just instantly, they just go, oh, right, okay. Like, do you know what I mean? It is more of a therapy session, and they do gel, and they have the little friendship groups, and it's that support network, it's that feeling heard, it's that feeling they feel valued. It's coming and having a bit of a rant about the teenage kids, and then the younger ones, who I do have some younger clientele, like 30, 35-year-olds who've maybe just had a baby that's not sleeping, and then you've got the 50-year-old, well, mine did that, I did this, and I did that. And so it is more of a therapy come, you know, exercise session. It's just crazy, really.
But it's what we kind of talk about a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
You talk about it a lot, Pete, isn't it? That the power really is in the community and is in the group, you know. So it's
massive power in the community. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of doesn't really say it doesn't really matter what you do. Obviously, you know, we know that, you know, walking in Pete's case is incredibly important. We know that strength training is incredibly important as well. But like you say, it's just if you're in the right community and with the right group of people, you're going to do the right stuff, you know,
and you're going to thrive as
yeah.
well, and you're going to feel, I think you're going to feel a part of something and feel heard, and yeah, so the community is massive, and the community, I suppose, like your gym, it makes it what it is.
I was just going to say, actually, I got sent Edith, who we've referenced a lot on the show before, who trains with me, who's 65, who's you know, going from strength to strength. She sent me a thing the other day, which is applicable to what it was an article in the Times, and it was weight training improves sleep in over 60s, and it was all about this sort of study whereby I think it says that people, as they get older, they do have there's greater insomnia as you're in your 50s and your 60s and beyond, and the quality of people's sleep reduces. And then there was a kind of some studies that said, well, actually exercise improves your sleep, you know, which you think, well, yeah, of course, you know, but it was a study that said that. And now they've actually found that specifically strength training and weight training in your over 60s helps improve your quality of sleep as well, which is massive, because then there's all these problems with depression and dementia and things, which are linked to insomnia and lack of sleep, because your brain's not regenerating and healing itself and everything overnight. So it's just another benefit that, you know, like you say, we know the benefit of strength training and training, and we kind of assume, because we're in a bit of an echo chamber, that everyone knows it. But like you said, the average person who might be wandering around Morrison's or Asda's or Sainsbury's, or, you know, other supermarkets are available, you know, maybe doesn't know that, you know, they're not tuned into what we're tuned into. So it's just another thing that helps. And like you said, it's not just about lifting weights, it's about lifestyle, it's about life, it's about wellness, it's about everything, isn't it?
And it's about, and I think as well, it's like, it's like we can't, sorry, that's Frankie barking at something. We can't, I've learned now I can't train like I used to. Does that make sense as well? So, you know, as much as we want to be able to do what we, you know, could in our 20s and 30s, you know, we can't now. We can do things better now, or we can do, you know, I can do things now that I couldn't do back then, but I can't train like that. And I do feel that in the social media world, it's women are expected to, you know, have the kids, have a job, and then train 5, 6, 6 times a week, hit the steps, hit the new, and you're like, that is not the real world. We are not athletes. Like, you know, like the women who come to me, they've got kids, they've got this, and I'm like, if the amount of times I go, yeah, but you're not an athlete, we can't do that, you know, you've got to cook the food, you've got to, you know, so it's about finding something that works for them as an individual as well, even though they're in a group, you know, it's finding what works for them as an individual, so then it can be part of their lifestyle, so then they can keep it up, you know, and it just comes like the norm in their life, like brushing your teeth, you know, and that's what we try to do.
It's kind of finding the starting point though, isn't it? Because it's funny, because I used to say, I haven't said it for a while, because like I'm doing different stuff now, but when you see all these things of people like, you need to get 8 hours sleep, and you need to, you know, and you need to do this and do that, and you've got someone like a woman or a man or whatever in the mid-30s who just want to faintly not smell of puke.
Yeah.
Like from the kid throwing up on them every day or something, like, you know what I mean? That's their goal in life, you know? And it's like, and then you've got people over here like saying, oh no, what you need to do is this. And it's like, okay, that's great. So that's when, and I said it to someone the other day as well. It's like, just find somewhere like your place or James's place or whatever, like find somewhere with a decent community who are doing what you want to be able to do. And they'll get you started at the right place where you're at, not jump in and do what they're doing. Like we had Laura Shanks, who's trains at James's gym. She's a mum and all of that, but she's like got right into high rocks, because we need to mention high rocks every podcast.
Yeah. I've got a few doing high rocks as well. Yeah, let's mention high rocks.
She's got right into that, and it's kind of like she's sacrificed a lot to be part of it. But she started out slowly, didn't she? She started out kind of just getting away from the counting calories and like eating as few calories as possible to getting into actually eating more, but having a more active lifestyle and getting out of drinking less and all of that sort of stuff. So, what happens when someone comes in? Is there lots of places to slot in for them to start?
Yeah. So when they come in, we they basically have a bit of like a fitness assessment. So we actually use, Dan John's, what you have, James. I think I got it off you on Dan John's cart when I was down there. So
the 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah,
like the 1, 2, 3, 4 assessment, and then we have other things. So they have a bit of a fitness assessment. So that gives me what level they're at. Then I give them an option, depending if they've trained before, where we do my Stronger Women project. So that's the project that I've run since about 2015, 2016, which is to get them into learning lifting the weights. If they're a complete beginner, then I wouldn't put them into that group, and I would say, look, let's just do a couple of one-to-ones with myself or one of the other coaches. Then we would then learn the basics, and then we would put them into that group, and then from there, then they can join the other groups. And then in the other groups, everyone, they know what they're doing by then. They know how much they should be lifting, and they know everything. I mean, to be honest, sometimes they know the program better than me. I'm like, oh, what reps are we doing this week? and that we've sort of taught them to that level. And that's how we get them in. So it's like basically it's learning to drive, isn't it? That's and I say to them, like, you're not gonna pass your test on your second driving lesson. It's gonna take you a few lessons, and some people it takes them a few more lessons than it does another person, doesn't it?
And they're the better drivers.
Yeah. It's easier to teach someone who's a complete beginner in my eyes as well.
It definitely is in anything. I think
it's have bad habits like me.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't have all that baggage of, oh, well, I was told to do it like this, or I used to do it like this, or I used to be able to do this, so like you say, it's unusual. So what was we kind of started talking a little bit about it before we started recording, but what was the catalyst for this change? And again, it's not a change of direction, it's just basically saying what you do. And so from a marketing perspective, it's great because people know you are the Stronger Women Academy. That's what you do. Like you say, it's kind of like clarifying and telling people what you do more. But what was the catalyst for the rebrand, renaming and that kind of thing?
I just woke up and decided that Carl had annoyed me and I don't want to train men anymore. No, it wasn't, even though he probably would say yes, it was. It was basically, I think, looking at it from the outside, it looked, our, my social media and stuff like that, and my logo, it was quite CrossFit-y, quite, functional, which, training is functional, what we do. And it just didn't say what we did on the tin. I did the Stronger Women project, but it didn't really have a link to the facility. And a few people were like, yeah, well, it does look a bit CrossFit-y. And I was like, all right, okay. So that's basically, and I've evolved as a coach. Like and your business evolves, I've evolved, and I'm at that age where I want to, if I had something out there, like this so many years ago, I probably would have trained a lot different back then as well. But we didn't have that back then. So that's what it was really. It was for to rebrand, remarket, and probably I think we get stale something. I wasn't saying I was stale I probably just wanted a bit of a new challenge, and I just wanted a bit of a oomph as well, like a bit like, let's go, let's because you do when you're doing the same thing every day. And I just thought, right, let's just change the wheel a bit. And
yeah, because I've seen actually that, because Sean Cole, who we had on a few weeks back, I don't know if you know Sean at all. He's down in Portsmouth, but he's now, I've just seen, I don't know if you've seen, Pete, he's rebranding the Sean Cole Vital Fitness as well now to be Elevation or Elevate Club or something. He's changing it, and he's obviously got the Balance Wellness Club, the contrast therapy place as well. But he said, yeah, I just need to and he did a video today I saw where he said, you know, overwhelmingly positive feedback, but some people just don't like change, you know. Whatever you do, you're not going, and he said you're not going to please everybody, you know.
Yeah, well,
so he's had a bit of pushback, it sounds like, just from a handful of people, like you say, 95% people. So how's this sort of change been met by your members?
My mum was like, "What do you want to do that for?" But typical mum.
So you're like, okay, I'll not then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you come to the gym and yourself? But no, they've all been really supportive because nothing's actually changed for them, and it would be. I think with them as well, they'd say, well, you know, one of the members like, when I say to my friends I'm going to the unit, like the unit was saying it was like more of a gym, and yeah, we are a gym, but we don't have treadmills, we don't, you know, and it was just to get that message across as well. And my members all, nothing's changed for them. Everything's the same really. It's just the branding, nothing's changed. I've added a few extra services in for them, but nothing's really changed for them. It was basically to speak to new people. And I think women, when they know it is a women's only facility, but when they're coming about, we've got a few male members and they're fine, but I think it changes if you said to a woman who doesn't really go to a gym, they would picture in their head, careful what I say here.
No, just say, because I think it's honest, because this is the thing. Well, say what you were going to say. If you say to most, like I said, the woman wandering around Morrison's or Asda, who's never been to a gym, what do they think of a gym? Yeah,
they think of a gym full of treadmills, men with the gold vests on posing in the mirrors, and the young girls wearing all the little crop tops and the shorts, which is fine. That's great. But it can put a lot of women off. And a woman who is going through perimenopause or menopause, you've got to remember their confidence is probably at an all-time low, even though on the outside they're like, their confidence is at a low, like so low that they're not going to go to that place because they think, oh my God, I can't go there. I don't want to, you know, they probably think they've got to look like that. I mean, them kids are 21-year-old. We all look like that at 21-year-old. But so it was just off-putting for them. So it didn't really tell them what we did. But all my members were like, well, yeah, that's what you do anyway. And I'm like, well, I know that. So no, they've all, you know, it's nothing's changed for them. Yeah, it's probably given me a bit more of you know, you know, getting like what I've learned across more as well. Because we do evolve as business owners, we evolve as coaches, we evolve as humans. If you're not evolving, you're standing still. And you know, you'll get stale, won't you?
Exactly. I like what you've just said there, because it's a gentle way of saying it. Is you don't evolve. If you don't evolve, you're standing still. So if you're not moving forwards, you're moving backwards. All of this sort of stuff. But it can sound quite harsh to people, especially when they're down and they're at a point in life when they're like, my confidence has never been as low, and you're telling me to like book up my ideas. But it's a kind of gentle way of saying it. And what you guys were saying there, and what James said at the start about what Sean said.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few people like a bit of like, oh, we don't like change. It's like, well, they need to change the fact that they don't like change, because life moves, life changes. It's always going to happen.
Exactly.
Change is inevitable.
The few people who maybe might have been thinking things, I would be like, am I going to do anything that's going to sabotage my business? No. The only thing I'm going to do for my business is make it better.
Exactly.
And that is all we want. We want to make our service better, our business better, and we just want to keep thriving and growing. And if you're not keep thriving and growing and moving the needle, then like you say, you just stand still. And you know, and it's made the people, you know, my members actually, you know, they've got more opportunity to come more. They've got, you know, they can go on holiday. The systems that I've put in place, that, you know, that we have, the changes we've made, they can go away and still follow the program. You know, they've got all sorts of resources that they can, you know, stick to. And it's just, you know, we're just offering a lot more. And that is the education side as well.
Well, James did that with it. You've done that with your place. Like, it's funny because your place is actually smaller than it was in the beginning, isn't it?
Well, it kind of got very big and then got a bit. It was small, then it got big, then bigger, then sort of back to medium now. I'd say because
what I love about your place is you got into strongman, and then now it's part of your gym, but it hasn't got rid of you haven't got rid of everything else. You've still got spinning, you've still got different classes and all of that sort of stuff. You've still got like, the kettlebell classes and what have you. So you've just added that in, but it's slotted in nicely. And you found your people like Edith is a, 65-year-old woman lifting Atlas stones, which is
like Alex is Alex is thriving in the strong women, isn't she?
Yeah, and we've got quite a few. So this is interesting because we, similar to with you with the making it the a women's only facility, if we say, although there's a few men still. I mean, I asked Steph the other week to look at, we've got about 125 members at the moment, and I said, just out of interest, because we really target now people over 50, that's kind of what our kind of niche is, if you like. And I said, just go through the members and tell me, how many we've got in each, 70 plus, 60 plus, 50 plus, and under 50. And out of 125 people, I think 95, so well over kind of about 3/4 over 50, and we've got, I think, about 17 or 18 in their 70s. We've got sort of 20, around 30, I think, in their 60s, and then we've maybe got like 50-ish in their 50s. I think 50s is the kind of the main decade, demographic. And then we've got, just like I say, about 20 people maybe under 50, and most of them will be like 40s. And then like you've probably just got like, I don't know, like less than 5 people under 30,
Yeah, that's probably like me.
30s. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got most of my clientele are probably mid to late 40s, 50s, and then I've got a few in the 60s, and then we've got Joyce, who's 74, Joyce. She's actually gone through chemo, so she's having chemo and she still comes to the gym and she just does what she can do. So quite similar, but I think mine as well, a bit probably like yours, James. They're probably, when they started with you, they were probably in their 30s or 40s, and they've stayed. And that's why it is, isn't it?
Yeah, because every year I get more people in their 70s, because we're like because people are getting older. Yeah, because literally like I remember so this year is 18 years of having the gym, and we've got quite a few people who started 18 years ago. So, but when they started, they were like in their mid 50s.
Yeah.
And now they're in their 70s, and I kind of laugh with them, because I say, when I started the gym, I was about 20, 28, I think. And I'm like 46 now, or yes, that would be 18 years. Yeah. So 28 to sort of 46, and we've all kind of got older together, every year you get more in their 70s and, and more in their 60s, because everyone gradually is getting older together. But I think what I was going to say was, what makes it, probably now that you've got the Stronger Women Academy, when you see people, when you meet people, like now when I meet people, if people ask what I do, I could say, oh, I run a gym for people over 50 in Chelmsford. It's just so much easier. And then they'll either be like, oh, well, I'm 30, so that's not for me, or, oh, that's interesting, I'm in my 50s, or so what's different, or what's the, and for you can say, I run the Stronger Women Academy, which specifically works on,
as social media would say, we're talking to our niche.
Yeah, but it's just so easy just to say in real life, not even in social media. Just like when you meet someone in real life, you can tell them what you do, Like Pete, you very clearly now, I run walking solves, I run walking groups in Bath, and straight away people know what it is, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys, I've learned like over the last 10 years or whatever of all of this, and I knew it all, but I would still say I'm a personal trainer, and that doesn't mean anything. Because it could be anything, right? It could be anything to anybody, because people make up what you are in the head, and then what they mean is, oh, you're in between jobs. That's what people usually think, isn't it? Because everyone's a bloody personal trainer. So, and it's just it's become trying to put systems in place and all that. Like, I mean, James, you've done it for years. Gemma, you've done it, but you've like you said, over the last year or so, you've kind of nailed it down. And I've done the same, because it's like I knew how to do it, or I knew what to do. I just didn't know. I couldn't quite get my head around getting it in place. So, but it's like, you've found your people, and then you've just said, right, these are the people who are coming along. So let's call it that.
Yeah,
like we said earlier, you were kind of saying, have I found my niche or whatever? It's like, no, you've just clarified what you do.
Yeah, just clarify. They've always
Yeah.
been my niche. They've always been with me for like, so long. But I think as well, I suppose it gets to a point where you probably should have done it, but I didn't probably have the balls to do it, or I didn't want to upset people, and I should have just probably gone with my gut and done it anyway. And then it's took me, to a point where I want to do it now. I wanted to do it and I needed to do it. And I didn't upset anybody, obviously, apart from my mum. What do you do that for? But
yeah, but she's a northern mum. They always say that, don't they?
proper northern mum, yeah. Proper northern mum, yeah. So,
but it's interesting because I can't remember again if I've heard someone say this or I read it somewhere. It might have been Chet actually, who we've had on the podcast a couple of times. But where when you get involved in marketing, or when you maybe like start working with a marketing guru, or you read books,
honestly.
they talk about like finding your niche and stuff like that. And I think someone said, and it might have been Chet, who said you don't choose your niche, your niche chooses you.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Vibe attracts your tribe, basically.
Yeah, you can't force things. You know what I mean? Like you see so many people now saying, "Oh, I train stressed out entrepreneurs who want to do this, that, and that," and they're just trying to force force a niche and just find like their market. Whereas
that was my conversation. Sorry to interrupt you. That was my conversation on Monday with one of my male PTs. He runs a big business, and he's obviously high up in this business or whatever. And he said that. So his friend has basically done that, and he now lives the life in Bali and online coach. And he's like, oh, he's only marketing entrepreneur men and all this. And I'm like, yeah, because they think they're the ones with the spare cash.
Yeah. You just pick, you pick your avatar or whatever, and you try and go and you try and shoehorn it where really, the niche chooses you. And if you do it long enough, you kind of realize, well, actually, I'll get on well with these people, and I'm better with these people, and I'm attracting more with these people. So why don't I embrace this niche? And I think what's really interesting as well is as we get older, like you say, you evolve as a human, you evolve as a coach, you evolve as a human, you evolve as a coach, sorry, you evolve as a business owner. And as you get older, you relate to older people, don't you?
Yes,
so all of us are in our 40s. You're kind of at the starting end, Gemma, and Pete's at the tail end. I'm kind of in the middle. Well, I'm 47 this year, but you kind of resonate more with slightly older people,
Yeah.
And I mean, I went and watched
until the point when you resonate with Michael Douglas in Falling Down.
Yeah, because I went and watched the Bob Dylan film yesterday. What's it called? An Unknown.
That's your age now, forgetting things.
What's that, Pete?
Complete Unknown.
Yeah, yes, A Complete Unknown. Yeah, and that was absolutely brilliant. But today I've been talking because my members are all like in their 60s and so on. The people I've seen today, I'm like, oh, I went and watched that Bob Dylan film yesterday. It's absolutely brilliant, and we've been talking about that and Bob Dylan music and stuff. And you wouldn't have that conversation if you had a gym full of 20-year-olds,
We were out on a walk the other day, and there's a guy who comes along called Nigel, who's an ex-policeman. He's retired and all this sort of stuff. He's not like, I don't think he's that old, but like police retire early, don't they, and what have you. And he's hilarious because he volunteers for lots of things, to like with the National Trust and what have you. And we're walking past this place, and this guy was out working on his tractor, right? We're in this village, and he's working on his tractor. And Nigel was like, oh, look at that. It's amazing. It's a 1957, whatever it was, right? And he said to the guy, do you take it to shows and stuff like that? He goes, it's not. He goes, it's kind of original, but he goes, it's a bit like Trigger's broom, right? And everybody laughed, right? But if you, like, Sean says that to people who she works with at school, and all the teachers are like 25, 26 years old, and they've got no idea what she's talking about. She brings up references to Grange Hill and stuff all the time, and no one's got any idea what she's talking about.
Exactly. So I think as well, when they say, when you get to 40, it gets harder, and you're like, yeah, whatever. And then you're saying it now, and then you're like, God, yeah. I'm at that age. But yeah, like the conversations are totally different, and I look at them, and I just today was something happened, and I looked at the other one. I went, "This will be us when we get to that age," like laughing, and it's just a different conversation, different interests, and I like learning now. I didn't realize this, but I actually like learning, and you learn so much from your older clientele. You're learning every day is like a school day, isn't it, really? So yeah, it's a lot different conversation.
What I've learned out of all this, I mentioned this the other day. I was on the radio the other day, by the way, and I mentioned it the other day, and it was just get started, because like you've said, you do what you do, and then your tribe finds you, or your people find you, don't they? And if you try and force it, so all these people who are like, oh, here's the tips and tricks for marketing that you can do, and all you need to do, and it's like you say, find your niche, basically find your niche and do what you want and all that. And like you say, people go, right, I'm going to find the niche with the most money and try and exploit them. And it's like, well, yeah, because they'll just pay and forget about it. And I'll set up a subscription model. That'll work, because they'll forget about it. I've just got free money and I can go on holiday whenever I like, and all of that. But everyone tries to do that, don't they? Or people go and learn something off one coach and then try and sell it for $5,000 to the next
Yeah,
and just teach them what they've just learned. And it's like, hang on, it doesn't work like that. And that you can see through that straight away. So it's just get started on something like you've both done, and like I did with the walking group. Like that's just evolved out of not out of nothing, but it's evolved out of like just me and the dog going for a walk. Yours has evolved out of opening up the unit and then finding, or like no, starting out in the field, in a farmer's field, and then building it from there. So that's what I say to people now is, and you'll get this, like, with your marketing, is just start. If you want to come to us, that's fine. Come and start. And if you don't like it, you can leave.
Yeah.
But if you do like it, you stay, and then you realize that it's not what you thought it was,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just getting the message out there and getting them through the door, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So Gemma, in terms of like for the listeners who may be, women in their maybe their 40s, 50s or 60s, and a lot of people listen who are interested obviously in improving themselves and getting stronger and getting fitter and all the rest of it. What's the kind of, I suppose, the essence of your programming that you do now for women? And you mentioned, for example, a lady might come in and join who's not done any training before, and then you start them with a few one-to-ones. But does your programming, is it kind of like a quite a simplified kind of, almost like the Dan John, the push pull, the hinge, the squat, the loaded carry, the teaching them to hinge and to deadlift and that kind of thing? I mean, what are there certain sort of nuts and bolts that you do with everyone that you want everyone to be able to do, maybe?
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah. So you'll have, obviously, we've got like I don't want to say beginners, but you've got, like, say, the start, like a starter one, and then you've got somebody else who, like a middle person. Then we've got like the advanced people who've been coming for years and can, like, knock out more pull-ups than me, after teams. But yeah, like they'll all do the same, but you're going to do that's what you're going to do. You're going to do that, and you're going to do that. So they still feel part of the group, but they're doing their own version, if that makes sense. And if they do come in and I go, look, these guys have been training with me for like years, they're like, they're like the F1 drivers kind of thing, like, so don't compare yourself. I think that's one thing that women need to remember, is that they shouldn't compare themselves to the next person, because they don't, they've been doing that for a very long time or whatever, and they just need to get started. And I just think, one, are you worth it? Are you worth investing in your future? Number two, just fucking do it. Like, that's one of my things, because if you don't do it, you're just going to regret it, like, later on, aren't they, really? Everyone.
It's funny you say about the women comparing themselves. I mean,
oh, massive.
I think men probably do as well, but because I talk to a lot of women at the gym, and some of the thing that I kind of feel is that a lot of them, they're looking at someone else thinking, oh, I wish I was more like that person.
Yeah.
But then other people are looking at them thinking, I wish I was more like them, and it's like, I hear
women, we're never happy. I can say it if you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. No.
We're never happy.
No, because I've got women who are maybe like smaller and lighter, and they're looking at the women who are maybe bigger and heavier and thinking, oh God, look how much weight she's lifting. I'm not very strong because I'm not lifting the same as them. And then maybe the bigger kind of people are like looking at the smaller one thinking, oh, I wish I was a bit more like that. And then the people who are doing, like you say, people look at maybe Laura Shanks, who came on the podcast, and think, oh, I wish I was more like that. And people might look at Alex, who's been on the podcast as well, and say, oh, look how much she's lifting. I wish I was, and there's this kind of, there's always, and I'm sure men, I do know that men have it as well, but I suppose maybe the women maybe talk about it a bit more and,
Yeah, so
and a bit more open about it, I suppose,
yeah, of course they are. Well, I just say, well, one, you don't live their life. Number
Mm.
two, like, especially my tall women. So obviously it is harder for people who are long levers who to do pull-ups and stuff. So a lot of my women are like, oh, I want to do a pull-up, I want to do a pull-up. Some don't want to, but I'm like, yeah, but hang on a minute. You're like 6'3". Your arms
Mm.
are longer than, that person's legs kind of thing. You've got more to pull. So I'm a little bit
Mm.
more realistic. You know what I mean? I'm a bit more like, come on. And then I'm like, but you can pull more on a row with one pull, where like those
Mm.
shorties, it takes us like a few pulls. So I just said, like, why are you comparing yourself? But I think that is, the society that we live in and social media, that women should look and look a certain way, and why should we look like that? Or why I'm like, well, why do you want to look like her? Like, she doesn't like herself half the time, and I'll just try and joke about it.
Yeah.
Once they know me, they get my dry sense of humor. But yeah, I think women just need to realize, I don't want to say like learn to love yourself, but we just need to realize that, you've got your health is your wealth, and do the best with what you can do. you know
Mm.
I'm never gonna be like, I don't know, like, I wish I was 6 foot tall, but I'm not gonna be, am I? So I've just got to work with what I've got. And that's what women have to
That's
do. And you have to, they have, like, a lot of women, oh God, my stretch marks. And I'm like, yeah, but you've had 4 kids. Come on. There's women who, probably can't have children that would love to have your stretch marks. And then it
Mm.
brings them back down and like, yeah, I know you're right. Like, they're war wounds, girls. They are war wounds. It's just about making them it's just,
And I suppose, like you said, that's a good thing about now the community that you've got, and that you've got this, like you say, a community and a group of women all together who can have those conversations together, and you can help guide them and everything along the way. But
yeah, they're just a very realistic kind of group of, they're just they're realists as well. They know that, they just keep each other real, and knock each other back down when they're, or lift each other up as well when they're a bit
yeah.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not a good. We've just been talking about marketing and that. Yeah, come in and we'll knock you down, idiot.
They'll knock you down,
you
yeah.
Come along.
They'll knock
Well,
you down,
yeah,
put you
knock
back
you
down to reality.
Yeah, we'll make sure you stay grounded. Come and
Yeah, come on.
It's funny though, the comparison thing, because I mean, I see James like doing his stuff, right? And we've got the same coach, obviously, and I see him doing his stuff, and I'm like, oh, you can deadlift way more than me and that, but I don't deadlift, but I can press more than you because I've got short arms. So, it's that sort of thing.
And you can do your 1 arm, 1 leg press up any day of the week, can't you?
Well, exactly. Yeah, but I'm like this big. I only have to go like down that far. You have to go down this far. But Paddy Haynes, we had Paddy Haynes on a couple of weeks ago, and he said something. He's like the log press. He's not very good at, because he grew up on a farm and he's got proper farmer strength and he's super strong. But you don't do that on a farm. Everything's like moving it from here to there, carrying stuff and all that, which he's really good at. And his log press lets him down. And he was like, so even at that level, and he's not comparing himself to everybody else. He's just saying that's one of my weaknesses that I need to work on. But in those sorts of things, and it's like you were saying, someone wants to specifically do a pull-up, and it's like, yeah, but you're good at lots of other things. So just because that's not your thing, you might be able to do 1 or 2, but 10 might be out of the question. However, like you say, on the rowing machine or whatever, like, yeah.
You've just got to be realistic with them, and then, like you say, stop comparing yourself. But yeah, I have women who come to me and like, my overhead press is one of my weakest links, and they can press loads, and a lot of them come in, and if they've done body pump, if you get the women who've done body pump, they're like, they'll be listening to this, and they're like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, it's because you've done body pump, like, joking. They're like, you've just got to let them see their strengths, because they won't see it themselves. So we're like, yeah, but you can do this and you can do that, and it's not about being obviously better than each other. It's just about being a better version of yourself and work on your own weaknesses. And so that's what we do. So we will tailor the program to help them work on if they've got a goal, a specific goal. So
I think this is one of the funny things. Like, I don't know, it's just the way my brain works. but you've got to be better than yourself. And all of these, they're all cliches, aren't they? But they're all
True.
cliches are cliches for a reason. They're said so many times. And then the whole thing of like, right, let's think of a different way to say it, which then clouds the whole thing. And then people have to like worry about, oh, do I have to do that as well? It's like, well, it's the same thing. It's just said in a different way. So it's like, yeah, it's just, just focus on yourself. Because, I mean, obviously people do look at other people's stuff in gyms and stuff like that. But when you're worried about what people think of you, people aren't thinking about you. So don't worry about it. They're thinking about themselves.
Yeah, too busy watching what they're doing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, Jemma. It's been really, really good catching up with you about the, about the direct. Well, like I say, it's not a change of direction. It's just a clarification of what you do and just being more open and telling people about it, which I hopefully, I mean, it's only a fairly new thing, isn't it? Is it the last couple of weeks you've officially kind of launched?
Where are we now? What are we in now? March? Yeah, it's about February. It was was it about February? I went on holiday. So yeah, about end of January, February. Yeah.
So yeah, I hope it all goes really well for you. I'm sure it will, and now, like I say, even just having those conversations with people, it's far easier. Or when your members talk to their friends, it's far easier for them to explain, well, this is where I go and this is what they do, and it's just that clarity around that, which helps spread the message and get it out there. No, that's been really great. And hopefully hopefully we see you in May,
Yes.
up again in person, which would be great. Like I say, I know you mentioned Alex. I know Alex will be she'll be doing the dumbbell on the Friday, definitely. I don't think she won't be doing the SFB the weekend. Because again, like, she's 6'1", 6'2", and training for strong women. So the body weight stuff's not really
not her goal.
Not really so applicable, and not her goal, exactly.
Everyone goes about like goals are so like, what do you want to go for? But I personally think you should have a goal, because then you can train towards that goal, and each person has their own individual goal, and then they're training for that individual goal. But even though you're in a group environment, and
if you know what you're training for, it helps you say no to the things that, it's good to say. We spoke to Steve Bush about this, didn't we? He says yes to everything now, too much really, but you need to be able to say no if something's not going to help you towards your goal.
Yeah.
One of my online clients, right? He was training with kettlebells. Now he wanted to do some stuff with barbells as well. So we're doing a bit of that. But a couple of years ago, he bought a program on how to do the splits. I was like, what do you want to do the splits for? He was like, well, quite cool to do, wasn't it? I was like, will it help with anything that you do? And he was like, not really. And he'd spent 40 quid on this online, like this downloadable program or something to be able to do the splits, and he hasn't done it.
He'd probably just watched like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie or something.
Yeah.
Thought, oh, I'd like to do the splits. Yeah. But no, like I say, having that goal allows you to say no to the things that are not going to help you towards it. So no, I think it's good. Excellent. So if people do want to follow you, Jemma, first of all, just a reminder, if you want to go back, because it's Gemma's got a really interesting backstory in terms of how she came into the fitness industry and came to open her own facility as well. That's episode 92. Go back to that. That's Bodybuilding, CrossFit and Functional Strength with Jemma Wesson, episode 92. But if people do want to follow you now going forwards on I know you said you're not a big fan of social media, but I know you do. We all have to do it to an extent, don't we, when we run this and stuff.
Didn't have it back in the day, did they, when we started?
No, if people do want to follow you, where are you most active? Where's a good place to go?
Most active would be Instagram or Facebook. So it would be the Stronger Women Academy.
The Stronger Women Academy.
Yeah, I think on Facebook, I think it's the Stronger Women. The reason why I say I think is because I'm not actually on Facebook much, and somebody else does it for me. It's the Stronger Women Academy at the unit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
but if people, Instagram is easy. I did because I went on there.
Instagram, yeah, you might hear me swearing, but I've tried to share a story this morning of a woman who's a GP, and she's got a 2 chin-ups this morning. So I was like, fuck it, yeah. Instagram won't let me post it, so it's obviously the algorithms.
Because you're swearing.
I don't know. I'm assuming so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the Stronger Women Academy, check that out. It's really, really good. And like I say, I can't believe it's been 3 years, but hopefully, like I say, I'll get to spend some time with you in person.
Yes.
May in Essex, and the weather should be good. The sun will be out. Hopefully, it'll be lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pete, as well for
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And next week we are going to be back with we got Pete Linnett on with us, who is multiple times world's strongest disabled man. Also, he's done loads of disabled bench press. He's done loads of endurance stuff as well. I'm currently reading his autobiography. So he's from I wouldn't say it's up north, it's more Midlands, Leicestershire. That's Midlands, is it? That's down south, is it?
Yeah. It's proper southern.
What's around? Is that north? Leicester's north of Birmingham, isn't it? Just, I think.
I don't know.
I think Leicester's just north of Birmingham. But
I don't go down south. I've just come back from a speeding ticket and nearly my tyre on the same stretch of road, ironically.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what happens when you come down south. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be back next week for episode 240 with Pete Linnett. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. We would love to get some more reviews on there, and we'll read them out online and give out some free merch to you. So until next time, episode 240 with Pete Linnett. See you later, Pete.
Hurrah.
Hurrah. See you later, Gemma.
See you later.
See you later. Thank you very much, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.